Namaste. This native has asked if there is KALASARP dosh formed in his chart. So we have to first of all understand what KALASARP dosh means. In Bhrigu Nadi, let me make this very clear to you. In Bhrigu Nadi, there is nothing called KALASARP Yog or dosh. Okay, there is nothing called KALASARP dosh in Bhrigu Nadi. So basically, let me just tell you that this is something which we don't take into account at all, but we do take Rahu Ketu axis in Bhrigu Nadi. Rahu Ketu axis is extremely important. So you can see in this chart, Rahu is placed in the ninth house and Ketu is placed in the third house. All the graha are between the Rahu Ketu. That means on one side of Rahu Ketu, on this side of Rahu Ketu, all the graha are placed. But does this form KALASARPA Yoga or Dosh? If you look at the definition of KALASARPA, as per some of the North Indian or South Indian astrologers who actually consider this as an important dosh, Rahu actually moves this way. See, in North Indian chart, the graha are shown to move in the counterclockwise direction. That means this way they move. Therefore, the Rahu should actually move in the clockwise direction. But in reality, in the South Indian chart, it's exactly opposite. Rahu moves in the counterclockwise, that means anti-clockwise direction, and grahas move in the clockwise direction. But in North Indian chart, it is taken as opposite. Okay, apasavya. So what we generally do here is that we will, since I have to follow the North Indian system, so we will stick to that particular part where we will see that the Rahu is moving clockwise here in this chart. So as it moves clockwise, let me tell you what is Rahu Ketu. Rahu Ketu are combined as Sarpa. So this is the mukham of the Sarpa. Mukh matlab मुंह, मुख, ये मुख है और ये पूंछ है, that means tail. Okay, Ketu is the tail. So Sarpa Mukh is Rahu. So if the Rahu is moving in the clockwise direction as per the North Indian chart, it is not swallowing any graha in this. कोई graha ही नहीं है. But if it was, if all these graha were in this position, then Rahu would have systematically swallowed every single graha as it moved. But in this case it is not. Okay, so that is the first thing. So there is no KALASARPA dosh in this patrika. But in Nadi, Rahu Ketu are considered as Kala. Okay, that means time. It denotes the time dimension. So the timing is shown by or rather the independent variable. Rahu Ketu are independent. As you know, in physics or maths, the x-axis is the independent axis or the time axis, and this is the dependent variable. So Rahu Ketu are considered as independent variables. That means they are not affected by anybody. So that means they are not dependent. Okay, everything depends on them. So the Kala is given. The Kala is assigned to Rahu Ketu. So Rahu Ketu axis is important because in Bhrigu Nadi, any graha, suppose if Jiv Karak Jupiter was here, that means if it was either alone in this particular axis, but that means outside the axis, then in such a case this guru will behave erratically. Its karakatwas might not be the same as what we have learned, or they might give different results, or it becomes unpredictable, etc., etc. So basically, whenever a graha is outside the Rahu Ketu axis or bound by Rahu Ketu, that's the best word, bound by Rahu Ketu alone, then it behaves, or its karakatwas behave erratically, or it becomes a little unpredictable. Rahu Ketu is also called as the family circle in Bhrigu Nadi. So that means if the Jupiter is outside the Rahu Ketu axis, such a person is outside the family circle or thinks out of the box, or that particular karakatwas are different, they give different results from what you expect. So we cannot predict 100%. There are a lot of other things, of course, but I'm just giving an example here. So similarly, if Mars is outside the or bound by or alone and bound by Rahu Ketu axis, then it behaves in a different manner. The brother of the native or the husband of the female, I mean of that lady, might be different, or so there would be some problems with the karakatwas of Mars. We don't know. That of course depends on patrika to patrika, kundali to kundali, palm to palm. Okay, so what we are trying to establish here is that in the the Jyotish that is followed in north and south, many Jyotishis take Rahu Ketu, I mean Kalasarpa dosha, because of Graha getting bound by the Rahu Ketu. However, in Nadi, we do not consider Kalasarpa dosh. We consider Rahu Ketu axis, as I mentioned earlier. And in this case, because the Rahu is moving clockwise as shown in the North Indian chart, it is not swallowing any of the Graha. Therefore, Kalasarpa dosh doesn't exist. But let's go to the next part of this particular Patrika here. If you look at the Patrika carefully, I have marked this. See this? There is a Rashi Parivartan. That means Mars and Jupiter are exchanging Rashis. So if we look at the palm here, if you look at the palm, this is the Guru Rekha. This is the Guru Rekha. Beautiful, no defects at all. So as per Rashi Parivartan, Guru is also available here and Mars is also available here. Correct? So they are basically available on both sides. Therefore, there is a Rashi Parivartan. That's how we call or show Rashi Parivartan in Nadi, not in Parashari or in that is Hora Shastra. We don't do this kind of thing. But in Nadi, Parivartan is very, very important. Okay. So, but is this Parivartan effective? Let us see. If it was effective, let's say for example here, you know that Ketu is strongly influencing this house or this Rashi. Why? Because it is in trines. So the Mars is Pidit here because of Ketu. We can see that very, very clearly here. Look at the Mars line. It is definitely getting afflicted or battered by Ketu. Okay. But is that the case here? Not at all. In fact, Guru Rekha is a very well marked and ideal Guru Rekha here. So it means the Rashi Parivartan is not at all effective in this palm. But a person who is born at another person who is born as at the same time as this guy, in the same place, okay, will have the same chart, everything will be same. But in his palm, if the Guru Rekha is battered or affected, then in that case this Rashi Parivartan is strong. So where do we use this Rashi Parivartan? It is used in transits, it is used in progressions, it is used in Shani's progression, it is or Shani transits. So whenever, suppose for example, suppose let's take an example, if Shani was here, transit Shani was here, that means it is going to touch the Mars and Venus, isn't it? So Mars and Shani touching might not be really favorable all the time, depending on the rounds of Jupiter. But suppose if it was touching Mars, that is Shani was touching Mars, traditional Brigunadi, Jyotishis would always consider that the Jupiter also would benefit because of that, and the results would be twice. That means there will be two types of results. One result will be that of Mars and the other will be that of Jupiter. Good and bad results might be seen, but in this case, depending again on the rounds of Jupiter, the Saturn's transit on Mars will only give Mars's result. It will not give Jupiter's results. Why? In this palm, because the Parivartan is not very effective. That is how we use it in Brigunadi and in astropalmistry. I hope I have made my point very clear. The third and the most important point which one has to certainly look at when we analyze a chart is the rashis and the tatwa. In this chart, you can see that the southern rashis, which is, see, for example, this is the north, this is the east, and this is the southern rashis. Okay, the southern rashis are completely empty here. 1 2 3 4 5. So this is the fifth. 1 2 3 4 5. This is the fifth. So it is difficult for me to use the North Indian chart. I am so used to the South Indian, so it becomes tricky. So I have to count. I am so sorry. But here the southern rashis are empty. It means in the direction chart, you have graha in this, you have graha in this, and you have graha in this, and this part is completely empty. Okay, so in this case, a lot of Bhrigu Jyotishis or Bhrigu Nadi Jyotishis would say, if one of the quadrants or if one of the tattvas is empty, then generally either 0 to 30 or 30 to 60, that is the age, years 0 to 30 or years 30 to 60 are troublesome, either or. So maybe the first 30 or 31 years are bad, or they are extremely good, and then from 30 to 60 the other 30 years are bad. This is how the general predictions are given. Of course there are a lot of other factors, but I am talking in general. So there are three things which we saw here. The first thing was that we looked into the so-called KALASARP dosh as per the Jyotishis who follow it, and I gave you the perspective, Nadi perspective. Then we went into the Parivartan, which is Rashi Parivartan, and whether it is effective in this palm or not. And last but not the least, we looked at this particular Tattva where the southern Rashis were empty, and what could be the results in that case. Dhanyavad.